Before every currency crisis, there is a moment that feels calm, predictable, almost boring. In the years after the First World War, Germany appeared to be finding its footing. The fighting had stopped, factories reopened, trains ran on time again. Berlin cafes filled with conversation, music, and cautious optimism. On paper, the war was over, but beneath the surface, the economic foundations were already cracking. This is where the pattern always begins, not with collapse, but with recovery. Germany in the early 1920s was a nation exhausted by conflict, yet determined to restore normalcy. The old imperial order had fallen. A new democratic government, the Weimar Republic, was tasked with rebuilding a shattered economy while honoring the enormous financial obligations imposed by the Treaty of Versailles. Reparations payments were fixed not in German marks, but in foreign currencies and gold. This detail mattered. It meant Germany could not simply pay its debts by printing money, at least not directly. But Germany also faced another problem, one that history shows appears again and again before currency failure: debt without political consensus. The government owed vast sums to foreign powers, to domestic bondholders, and to millions of citizens who had bought war bonds believing they were patriotic investments. Taxes alone could not cover these obligations. Raising them risked social unrest in a country already polarized by revolution, counter-revolution, and street violence. Cutting spending threatened the fragile social programs designed to keep the population stable. So leaders chose the least immediately painful option. They borrowed. And when borrowing proved insufficient, they turned to the printing press. At first, the effect seemed manageable. In 1919 and 1920, prices rose, but not dramatically. A loaf of bread that cost 1 mark before the war now cost 2 or 3. Workers demanded higher wages and received them. Businesses passed rising costs on to consumers. The economy appeared to be adjusting. This is stage 1 of the pattern: debt expansion disguised as recovery. The Reichsbank, Germany's central bank, was technically independent. In practice, it was under immense political pressure. Government officials framed money creation as temporary, an emergency measure until growth returned. Each new issue of marks was presented as a bridge to stability, not a permanent shift. Sound familiar? Germany was not alone in this belief. Britain had suspended the gold standard during the war. France had inflated its currency to finance mobilization. The United States expanded its money supply dramatically to support wartime production. Across the industrial world, the old constraints on money had been loosened, and few wanted them restored. For ordinary Germans, the early inflation even felt beneficial. Exporters thrived as the mark weakened. Tourists flooded in, their dollars and pounds stretching further each month. Unemployment initially fell. Industrial output rebounded. The visible economy looked alive. But inflation is deceptive in its early stages. What it gives to some, it quietly takes from others. Pensioners living on fixed incomes found their savings buying less each month. Civil servants watched purchasing power erode between paydays. Middle-class families who had done everything right, saving diligently, avoiding speculation, felt something slipping away, though they couldn't yet name it. This is stage 2, silent wealth transfer. No law was passed to confiscate savings. No announcement warned citizens their money would be worth less tomorrow. The transfer happened invisibly, through prices. Inflation acted as a hidden tax, redistributing wealth from savers to debtors, from wage earners to asset holders, from the cautious to the leveraged. Yet politically, inflation remained easier than austerity. The Weimar government faced constant crises, attempted coups, labor strikes, regional uprisings. Every budget debate became a fight for survival. In this environment, long-term currency stability lost to short-term political necessity. And so the pattern advanced. By 1921, reparations payments came due in earnest. Germany needed foreign currency, but its own mark was falling. To acquire dollars and francs, the Reichsbank printed more marks to buy them on international markets. Each purchase weakened the mark further, requiring even more printing the next time. This is stage 3, feedback loops. Once inflation becomes embedded in policy, it stops being a tool and becomes a dependency. Governments print money not to stimulate growth, but to service the consequences of previous printing. What began as a solution turns into a requirement. Still, many believed control could be restored.
Economists assured the public that inflation could be halted once political tensions eased. Officials promised fiscal reform was coming.
Newspapers debated exchange rates and budgets as if the system itself remained sound. History shows this belief is almost universal before currency failure. Rome debased its silver coinage gradually, convinced each reduction was temporary. Revolutionary France flooded the economy with assignats while insisting confidence would soon return. Spain extracted silver from the New World for decades, unaware it was hollowing out its own productive base. Different centuries, same assumptions. By late 1922, cracks widened. The mark's decline accelerated. Prices adjusted faster. Businesses stopped offering long-term contracts. Workers spent wages immediately, not because they were irrational, but because delay meant loss. This behavioral shift matters. Currency is not just paper, it is trust. And once trust starts to fray, events move faster than policymakers expect. Germany had not yet reached collapse, but the conditions were set. The debts were unpayable through taxation alone. The political system could not impose austerity. The central bank had become a financier of necessity. The pattern was in motion. What remained was the trigger, and when it arrived, it would transform manageable inflation into something far more destructive, almost overnight.